Alright, hello again and welcome everyone. I am his most awesomest KnightTrain, casting a yet another epic duel between the players here at MLG Providence. And with me as always is the Patrick to my SpongeBob.
The Robo so nice they named him twice. DoubleRobo here, casting on Antigua Shipyard. The cursed map, in fact so cursed we've had to start over thrice. So starting with the red Terran player on the left side, we have Complexity's MVP Keen.
Ooh, he's a very keen player, I've heard.
Wah, wah. And on the right side, in the blue, we have the Protoss player, FXOSLoG.
And I also think it'll be quite a slog to beat him.
God. You couldn't at least go with like quite a slog for him to come back, or like something that's actually like pertinent and matters to the series, or you had to... You had to go.
You know what?
You had to go for the low-hanging fruit, didn't you?
I saw an opening and I took it. That's just what I do. You know, I'm an opening.
I'm sure that works really good in Gold League. So one thing I want to point out here is that we've got. Oh, I know, going low on that one. We've got FXOSLoG here. I pointed this out in the last cast, but I'm pretty sure this is FXOz or FXOZ. Playing on Slog's account here at the MLG Open bracket, but for the sake of the cast, to make things a little bit easier, we're just going to call him Slog.
Right.
And we see the Terran player again not going for that wall off here. Pretty common against Protoss, especially because they can sit and hit at that wall pretty easily with a Stalker or a Void Ray, which is something that we saw Protosses do against Terrans quite a bit. So this is probably a reaction to that metagame. And instead of going for the wall off where you can snipe the barracks and snipe the supply depots pretty easily, instead not going for the wall off at all.
Right. And the other thing to note is, I mean, these are one of these, I mean, a lot of the maps we're seeing in the ladder and in, you know, major tournaments right now have these kind of built-in naturals here. So as a Terran, it, you know, I mean, you don't feel all that much pressure to wall off this early when you know, you and your opponent are very likely going to be taking this early natural here. So you might as well wall off at the large place here. It is just kind of a personal preference between Terrans.
Yeah, Slog going for a little bit of... it's hard to call it a wall-off, but he's putting his core and his gateway by his gas here, which I think is probably a way for him to block off Hellions on this map. He may put another pylon there at the very top of that to try and wall it off completely to stop Hellions from running behind his mineral line here.
Right, right. Yeah, very, very interesting. I mean,
You've got those buildings, you may as well use them.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to build them, you may as well build them in a place that's going to be helpful. And it looks like Slog going to send the Zealot out again, so maybe do a little bit of pressure like he did last time.
Right, and we actually have a reactor coming down from Keen here, which means his marine production is basically nothing for quite a while. That's basically going to buy Slog enough time to march this Zealot down here. I'm honestly not entirely sure if the SCV has seen it. I believe he has. There is a bunker going down as well as this
bunker going down.
Command
He's got
center.
the two Marines. MVP Keen made a balls, though, just throwing down that command center, even though he knows that the Zealot's probably going to get up here and at least see it. And actually, Slog just going to take the tower with that for a second. I think he's probably going to wait for the Stalker to get here.
Right, that actually may have cost him this. That's going to buy enough time just barely for that bunker to go up. Had he kept moving, he probably could have at least got his Zealot up here off the low ground before the bunker finishes. But the bunker is just finished right in time. Slog backing away. He obviously doesn't know there's a bunker there, but saw the two Marines, figured there must be more. He's probably going to wait for the Stalker who's cleaning up SCVs on the map.
Yeah, so I like this move from Slog. Those shields recharge so fast anyway that poking that Zealot up there is not really going to do anything bad.
Sure.
He's got to know that there's an expansion there with that bunker. He could, and he's actually got these two Stalkers here, so he's actually going to be able to hit this bunker a little bit and again get that shield damage. The same trick, putting that Zealot up.
Right, but
Keen not going to fall for it this time.
Absolutely not. Very well played by Keen.
Yeah, and I like this move by Slog. The Stalkers are faster than the Marines. He's not going to have a Marauder out for a little bit, and so it gives Slog the ability to get quick map dominance. He's able to put down that expansion, and he's going to throw up his second and third gateways here and a Robo. So he's just going to be the scouting master here. There's no way that Keen's going to get anything out to see what's going on, and he's going to have this Robo to see what's going on exactly in Keen's base.
Right, and worth noting, the expansion for Keen has gone down. He scans, sees that Robo actually, sees the probes transferring on the Nexus, but Keen's expansion, it's an orbital already. He's got SCVs on it, so he is pretty significantly economically ahead versus Slog. Though Slog has a very, very slight supply lead.
Yeah, and Keen now actually evening up the supply, 41 out of 46 as soon as that supply depot got finished. So He's getting his concussive shell. He's getting stim, very common for PvT. And he's going to be pumping Marines out of that reactor barracks too. So it's not anything that's going to make him a gigantic army, but it's going to make him a safe army so that he can really SCV up. It sounds weird. Drone up I like a lot better. He's going to SCV up this second expansion and really get his economy going as Slog sits out here and really denies any scouting, putting out a proxy pylon now.
Ooh.
I don't think he's going to use this for any sort of rush, but he is going to be able to put some pressure on with it.
Right. Though Keen is, maybe doesn't see this, but he suspects this. Putting up those supply depots as kind of a wall there that's going to block zealots. It's going to make it harder for units to actually make it up to the top of the ramp where they can see this bunker. That's a big thing. And like you were saying earlier with those buildings, but I actually may be interrupted. Keen really doesn't want me to finish a sentence as the attack is coming in here right now.
Yeah, and he's going to catch Slog in the middle of a warp in. He might be able to kill that sentry that warped in late.
Stim is not done. Ooh.
Yeah, Stim is not done, but concussive is going to catch that sentry. Good force field there from Slog, saves the sentry.
Wow.
And I was really worried when I saw Keen moving out that he was going to catch Slog in the middle of that warp in, but Slog with just some great little micro tricks there, able to save all of his units and keep Keen kind of on his back toes.
Right.
Back toes, back feet, back foot, back foot. There we go, back foot.
I mean, that force field was a really good move. I mean, I thought Keen was going to catch that sentry, and that's like, a sentry for nothing. But throwing down that force field, that energy is going to come back anyway. That was actually a really, really good move.
Although it's important to point out, sorry to interrupt you there, but Slog was actually supply blocked there for a second because Keen built that pylon. It's really important as a Protoss, anytime you build a proxy pylon like that, to build an extra one at home so you have that extra 10 supply to really, just in case somebody finds it, because the last thing you want is for them to kill that pylon. You're out 100 minerals, and you're going to be supply blocked for a little bit. So Keen taking a little bit of a supply advantage here as Slog was blocked for a second.
Right, and it's worth noting out, Keen has a pretty hefty ball heading down here towards Slog's base. He's going to time this up right as combat shields, finish. The Overseer does go by, so he is going to Observer, see this. He does stim in, hoping to catch something. This is pretty big. Oh, he's going to get all of those sentries.
Oh, not good for Keen. He puts down one force field, now two. He's got that one sentry with full energy that just died. And Keen pushing up here into the expansion is going to do so much damage here to Slog. The probes have to come out. I don't know if Slog's going to be able to hold this back. The probes coming in doing so much economic damage. He doesn't really even need to kill with this, but he's got a huge supply lead.
Right.
86 supply to 60. And really just pushing out the...
Snipes the Immortal!
Yeah, Snipes the Immortal. That's huge. And Slog able to defend that, but the cost was huge for him.
Right. That was definitely big. I mean, that was like the worst. I thought Keen was going to stim in there and be all mad because he stimmed to find nothing, but he found those sentries just barely moving out. He got all of them. Like 2 force fields went down. Had all those sentries been alive, he would have been able to force field this ramp, possibly buy enough time for another Immortal or another warp in or two, but that was just very, 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 very good timing for Keen. A very well played move.
Yeah, and really poor unit management there by Slog. He pulled out all of his units to kill that SCV that was on the high ground at his third while he was trying to warp in that pylon. And some missed rallies here by Keen are going to make sure that these Marines go there, but it might actually be good for him because he's going to see these units moving out a little bit. But Slog pulled his whole army up to that high ground as he moves out here to try and kill that SCV really quick. And Keen obviously saw that and just took advantage of the timing. You should really just send 1 or 2 stalkers up there instead of his entire army, and really pays for it here.
Right. I mean, this is going to be tricky. I think Slog is in a position where he goes, well, that hurt. He lost a handful of probes. He lost quite a bit of his all nice, shiny, expensive units, his Immortals, his sentries, and now he's probably feeling, well, what in the world do I do now? He's taking kind of the center of the map here, ensuring that the Terran doesn't take any of these gold bases, which is actually a fairly common third base to see Terrans take, because it is just a hop, skip, and jump away from your natural.
Yeah, especially if they're getting siege tanks. You can put siege tanks on that high ground up there and get a lot of vision. Obviously, he's going bio here, so not as safe. But Keen just really so far ahead right now. He's 122 supply to 103. He threw down 2 extra barracks and a command center at the same time. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him attack as soon as his 1-1 finishes here. And he puts down that command center.
Think.
Yeah, he's actually going to catch these units in the middle. Stims up a Marauder.
Ooh, blocks. Oh, doesn't have quite enough force fields to block that side. Oh, that's really not good. He does have this high ground advantage, but these Marauders coming through in here in the back just going to do devastatingly large amounts of damage. Stalkers blink away, but I think the killing blow has been dealt here.
Yeah, great surround by Keen. SLoG throwing down that expansion right now. He's going to have almost no units to defend this. Nothing producing out of his Robo, so he's not even going to have an Immortal to help with all these Marauders coming up here. He's going to be able to blink out of it for a second, cancels that expansion. That's the right choice, but you know, he doesn't have enough sentries to force field this ramp. He doesn't have an Immortal. You know, Colossus are so far away at this point that he's not going to get them, and he's really just going to try and defend this with Zealots. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. SLoG's going to be forced to pull probes again here, but he's not doing it yet. He's just hiding his units behind, letting MVPKeen kill some of his buildings. Yeah, here come the Zealots now. You should have waited for that gateway to go down. He would have got a better surround, but still, charge is finished. He goes in. He might be able to kill some of these units here, but he's gonna have to kill. He's gonna have to, excuse me, pull probes.
This is really not good for SLoG.
Yeah, really not good here for SLoG. Yeah, there go the probes. Okay, he's gonna pull those. Gonna try and get a surround on these Marauders. I think he's gonna be able to drive this out, but I don't know if he's gonna be able.
Well, those medevacs just make those Marauders so incredibly hard to kill, especially with probes. And there it is, the GG.
Yeah, and you know, Keen at that point. It's the Terran army gets exponentially harder to kill as it gets smaller, because you basically get down to the point where it's one medevac per unit there, and he was able to really just keep stimming and keep healing and keep kiting away from those Marines, or excuse me, from those Zealots. He had 2 more medevacs coming in. He was taking the gold base. And I just didn't see a way for SLoG to get back in that game.
And SLoG, as he saw this army coming, he threw down a DT Shrine. You know, he had the Twilight Council already with the charge and the blink, but he threw down the Dark Shrine, hoping, you know, if anything, it could buy him enough time. It could buy him some time. The Terran army, you know, a handful of DTs, you can get a lot of damage off before the Terran army notices. You have to bait out a scan. You know, if they've been very good about their mules, they may not have a scan ready. So I don't think he was expecting to really turn the tide, but just buy him enough time to get a third base down, just, you know, as kind of a last-ditch effort. But it was definitely all for naught. You're exactly right. The Terran army just got so small, he stimmed over and over and over. I mean, we saw those probes attacking Marauders, trying so hard, but the medevacs healed through 4 or 5 probes attacking on those Marauders. The damage, you know, the armor that they have was just too high.
Yeah, that's a really great point there, and I think that one just kind of snowballed out of control there for SLoG, and he just wasn't able to. You know, if the Terran player would have sat back and SLoG would have gotten that third base up, I think he might have had a chance. He would have been making 3 probes at a time, but he still wouldn't have been able to pressure that gold base that that Keen was throwing down. So I just don't see a way out of it for him at that point.
Right, and worth noting, you know, by the end there, SLoG losing quite a few probes. We can see here that 36 workers were eventually killed by Keen. That's a pretty hefty amount, especially as these games drag on. And you're exactly right. I mean, the DT Shrine could have helped him hold this attack. It would have bought him enough time to get up a third base, perhaps. But, you know, with this gold base going down, I think it was really only a matter of time. And it started with that bad engagement in the center, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly where he started. He lost all of his sentries there. He wasn't able to force field the ramp. And he wasn't able to kind of zone the Terran player out. Protoss can power off a 2 base for pretty long, and he may have been able to get up a big enough army to at least push and pressure that third. But you're right, as soon as he lost those sentries, he didn't have the gas to remake them. And 33 probes killed, not just probes killed, but probes killed in battle. Anytime you have to kill probes, or excuse me, pull probes, the second time I've done that, anytime you have to pull probes, you're in a pretty desperate situation already. And he just wasn't able to come back from that first time he had to pull them.
Right. Well, very good game by both of these players.